Yo, this show is brought to you by Onnit. Go to Onnit.com right now and take a look at that great set of supplements that'll rock your world, whether it's the protein, the chocolate cacao protein with 16 grams of scoop, or the Alpha Brain. There's something in there that you need. Go to Onnit.com right now and press in.
Church.
And get 10% off. Number 2, one of my favorites, MVMT watches. Over 1 million watches sold in over 160 countries. And the bottom line is they go from online to you. They cut out the middleman. Watches start at $95, all right? Go to MVMT right now, today, and get 15% off with free shipping and free returns by going to MVMTwatches.com/church right now. Number 2, here we go, baby. You're sick and tired of sleeping. You don't know. Your back hurts. Helix Sleep. Night after night, the same bed. I'm telling you, it kills your back. Go to helixsleep.com right now. Answer some questions, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If you go to helixsleep.com/Joey, I'm going to give you $50 off your order. That's helixsleep.com/Joey. $50 off your order. Do your thing, Lee. Let's start this motherfucker. Boom! Oh, shit. Get your shit together. Wash that monkey. It's Tuesday morning. Here we go, motherfuckers. Oh, shit. We ain't fucking around. The church of what's happening now. Oh, shit. Move your fingers. Watch your wallet. They're pickpocketing people at Coachella. Church of what's happening now, coming at you. April 25th, 2017. Oh shit. Here we go. When black people were black people. I just don't know. Oh shit. Go! What's happening, you bad motherfuckers? Uncle Joe here with my main man of death, Lee Syatt, over there coughing up lungs and shit.
Well, you give me the same bong hits that you take. I need to take I see all these people online taking bong hits, and they go, and they take like a little puff of a cloud, and they don't. I need to start doing that.
Those are the same people who get allergies, and they fucking, they put knee pads on when they ride bicycles and shit like that. They don't take a chance. You gotta take a chance when you smoke reefer. Columbus did, all right?
I'm taking a chance.
If you came to any of the Oxnard shows, thank you very much. Some of the shows were great. I'm still slipping on stage. I'm stuttering and shit. But it was still a great weekend. The fucking food there at Levity Live. It's the number one fucking kitchen in comedy right now. Really. They're really doing a good job. Levity Live, Nyack, and Oxnard, they're hitting it out of the fucking
They even got you to eat something you've never had before.
Yeah, they had me eating kale and shit. They tricked me, those motherfuckers. They got these steak bites as an appetizer with like these little onion rings on a bed of fucking, I thought it was spinach. I'm like, this spinach is delicious. It's got garlic on it. Jesus Christ, the last night I was there, they told me it was kale. I almost died, but what are you going to do? You got to take what they're giving you sometimes. That's how my mom used to trick me. I told her, my mom used to give me cow's tongue.
Oh.
And it looked like a steak with potatoes, and I'd eat it, and she'd go, that was cow's tongue. And I'd want to puke to death, but...
I haven't tried lengua, I haven't tried cabeza.
Oh, you can't know when you're eating it. Oh. And then my mom used to make calf's brains. Oh. And you slice them thin, paper thin. You put them in egg batter with flour and a little fucking Italian breadcrumbs, and you fry them up. Let me tell you something. You squeeze some lemon on those motherfuckers, you think you're eating a chicken cutlet. Then after you eat 15 of them, they tell you it's calf's brains. You want to shoot yourself in the fucking
What do
head.
brains taste like?
Delicious when they're fried. Delicious. I only had them once after my mom died. That's how much I loved them. And a friend of mine said they made them the same way. It was garbage. They were gooey in the inside. I don't like that shit. But anyway, no, Oxnard was great. I had a great weekend with my family. It's great to have a light schedule, guys. Like I said, when you get older, those airports are fucking tough. Every weekend, plus I'm lurking in the middle of the night. Takes me a few days to recover. Thank God I got jiu-jitsu. Thank God I move. Thank God I try to breathe better. I drink water on the flight. I don't drink alcohol, because that'll fuck you up. On those flights, I'll drink 19 gallons of water. I'll piss every 15 minutes just on principle, just to keep my legs moving so my ankles don't swell.
I'm a chubby dude. I stay in the window seat and I don't move.
Nah, that's why your ankles get all fucked up and shit. You fuck up your circulation. And then, man, riding that plane ain't that fucking good for you. So it's good to take a couple weeks off. I take a plane, a few weeks to Salt Lake City, which is a hop, skip, and a jump. And then I take a plane to fucking Milwaukee and Detroit. And after that, I'm done for like 5 weeks, man.
Jesus.
I'm taking breathers, yeah, man.
This is your longest break, I think, since I started with you.
Yeah, no, but it won't be a break. I'll be fucking writing the fucking thing.
You never take a break. You make everyone feel like every time you call, it's like I have to. Even at night, sometimes I'm like, you call, I have to have some work I was doing or something. Like you're always doing something.
Well, I break up the day into 8 pieces. You know what I'm saying? So you do
8 pieces.
You do an hour and a half here, an hour and a half there, an hour and a half here, an hour and a half there. You go to write for an hour and a half. You're outside in the sun. You come back. I go on the computer. I try to fuck around with the book. I sit down later on. I send emails in the morning. I fuck around on Twitter and Facebook. Your day's always organized so you don't rot to death on that fucking chair.
Right.
I don't try to do 3-hour chunks. I don't try to be Ernest Hemingway because they'll kill my fucking back. So those days are over with. When I was trying to write the special those months, I had that back pain. It was because I was sitting.
Oh, really?
Because I was sitting in chairs at Denny's. I was going to coffee shops. I was going to bars. I was always sitting down writing. So I had to figure something out. So now I just do it in short spurts because it drives me crazy anyway. I'd rather write a paragraph and get up and take a walk than sit there for 4 hours and burn out like a fucking momo. And then that last paragraph you write means dick. Because you were so retarded, your brains were fried. Fuck it, go give yourself some air, take a walk, smoke a doob, go talk to the cat or something, just break the monotony for a half hour. You deserve it. You've been sitting there.
Yeah, it's hard. My hardest part is getting started. Once I'm working, I'm fine, but I think that's why people love Adderall so much. And I never tried it, and maybe I should have. But like, I'll sit there for 8 hours doing spinning pens, doing anything but the work I'm supposed to be doing.
No, sure. What the fuck you think you're dealing with? I was like that too for a while, and I didn't need Adderall. I just needed to fucking eat. So when you need to eat, it's crazy that I've lived here for 20 years, and I've seen people come and go in this town, but there's a certain. And I can't. Lee, you've been with me 5.5 years now. We've been fucking around.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen me in the 5.5 years go to the celebrity parties or want to go to premieres?
I've been waiting for my invite. I haven't got no one cool.
I just don't do that stuff.
No.
I could go to parties. I remember when I first got here, getting invited to these parties, and I probably went to 2 of them, and I knew right off the bat I didn't belong there. Like, I had just always felt that I didn't belong. And don't get me wrong, people spoke to me, and I made people laugh, and I mingled. I just always felt like I didn't belong there because I always felt that the people that saw me at those things thought I was there for a reason. So I always tried to avoid all that type of stuff.
But aren't they there for that same reason?
Not really. They're really friends, and they've already made it. They're successful.
Oh, okay.
They deserve to hang out with one another and lie to one another. I'd never gotten to that point. So it was just weird that people think, I don't know how to describe this, sometimes that who you hang with or something will get you to the next level, whether in film. Like, sometimes I'm watching a movie and somebody will say, well, hey, the reason why he got there is because he's such and such his son. Or the reason why he's there is because he's such and such his nephew or something like that. And they really don't understand. What people don't understand is that somebody could walk you to the dance. You still got to go in there and dance.
I think you're mostly right, but especially in that industry and film and stuff, it seems like there's always going to be some movie, some TV show to hire people. So, I mean, is that, I think in a lot of jobs, you're right.
In the 20 years I've been here, I've been given maybe 3 or 4 roles that I got a call and they said, come on down and do the work. And it was when I first got here, believe it or not, like on pilots for Fox or ABC. There was a casting director that called me twice. There was another casting director, so yes, I can't lie to you. But, even if people have you in mind for a project, and this has been the whole time I've been here, I've always had to go down there and audition. And fucking be prepared, because I always felt that if Lee Syatt made a call for me, I got to be better than everybody else. When I worked for my in-laws, when I got out of prison, I worked along 6 fucking guys, and I could look you in the eye. And if I could find any of those guys today, except for Mike Roebuck, we could call him up right now. They'll tell you that when I worked, I worked. Like, I didn't talk, I didn't chitter-chat. I didn't have to rub suntan lotion on myself and take a break. I fucking got dirty. Like, I went there to work. I worked as hard or harder than anybody else because I was working for my in-laws. And I never wanted anybody to say I was a dumb son-in-law. I took a certain pride in that.
Yeah. I mean, did you have an experience with someone who like, you worked at a place and their son was an asshole? Or...
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And you look at it and go, Jesus, like my friend Veneri, the guy who owns the funeral parlor, when he was a kid, he worked. And when I look you in the eye and I tell you he worked. Like when we were 17, his parents would go to Florida for the holidays, and Gia would stay home and work in that funeral parlor. And he knew every aspect of it by the time he was 18 or 19. He knew how the cleaning would be. He knew the autopsy procedures. He knew all the people he had to deal with to get death certificates. He knew all that shit because he did it from scratch since the time he was probably 12 or 11.
I mean, not to get you off track, but someone like that, he's probably in the top 5% of all morticians in the country. He's been doing it all his life.
All his life. But on the other hand, you might see a family where they own a construction company. And the kid don't do construction, but he drives the best car in town. He has the nicest shoes. So guess what? The guy joins the service. He gets fucking thrown out. He goes to college. He never paid attention in high school. So now he has to turn to the family business. So here's a guy like you that went in there at 18 and busted his hump. And now you're 32. And he walks in there and now he's your boss. This happens across America and across the world all the fucking time. Because the kid goes off, he never paid attention, they pampered him as a child. And now he has to actually go work for the family business. And they're not going to hire him as a fucking goat. Because the kid's already mentally broken. So they're going to give him a cush job. And this guy's going to come in and tell you what your fucking position is.
He'll show up at 11, leave at 3.
Sure, booze, broads, a little blow. I saw it all the time. And in a way, I wanted to be that.
Yeah,
that was the guy
great.
I wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the kid that your parents gave you money and you drove the best car in town and you did drugs and everybody thought you were cool. That's a great fucking way to live, but good luck. One day that balloon's going to burst and you're going to be left out in the cold. I always said that when I was 18, 19, besides my thievery, I wasn't doing bad financially working in the city with numbers. I had the drug problem and all that shit, but beside all that, it was a living, and I was good at it. And I knew the ins and out of it because I did it as a child.
Were you worried at all? I mean, I guess in the grand scheme, it's one of the lesser of your crimes, but doing numbers, you were never worried about going to jail for it?
No, it's a misdemeanor in New York City.
But misdemeanor's not bad? I'm scared of you. I don't even want a misdemeanor.
No, they disappear after a year. You go see a probation officer a few times, you lie to them, and you're out of there.
Jesus
a
Christ.
misdemeanor for numbers, you're not going to get piss test. Those are fucking nothing. It's the ones you get caught. Like, I got caught for reefer in 1983, 84 in New York City. One of those fucking years. It's 83. It was the year Valvano and his team won. So it had to be 83.
Okay.
And I got arrested maybe a month before that, and I had to go to court. They gave me, I didn't do dick. Like, probation in those days was dick. Like, I went, I got arrested. There was a date on the ticket when I had to go to court. I had to go at 8 o'clock at night. I went down at 8 o'clock at night. There was some fucking attorney there. He asked me what my name was. I told him, I shook his hand. He goes, all right, this is what's going on. If you want to take it to trial, they'll take it to trial. But if you want a plea bargain, they already decided on a 6-month deferred sentence, which meant if I didn't get arrested in 6 months or in trouble, that sentence would go away.
Oof.
All right? That was it. I went to court for basically them to go, all right, boom, deferred sentence.
I'm not trying to be an asshole, but
No.
you just said you got arrested a month before that. Was there any part of you like, fuck, I might get arrested the next 6 months?
No. I got arrested for that ticket the day after the Super Bowl in January, like 29th or 30th of that year of 83.
Okay.
I didn't go to court till the court log was so backed up that I didn't go till Monday night, the night that they played college basketball championship.
So March.
Which was the last night of March. I was on the street for 2 months.
Okay.
And by that time, I had been arrested in New Jersey already.
That's what I'm saying.
For possession of stolen tools, and possession of fucking distribution of fucking drugs. No, there was no drugs at that time. It was all like fucking stupid shit, like burglary
stolen tools.
Yeah, like burglary tools and shit like that. So I had already been arrested in Jersey. And now I got arrested in New York a month later, but I'm getting out of there on my own recognizance because I told them I'd been arrested in Jersey, so everybody knew. They knew how to find me.
You almost have the whole tri-state area.
Yeah, so I almost have the whole tri-state area. So now I got to go to court in New York City. And I walk in there, and the dude goes, boom, deferred sentence. So help me God. They go, all right, go see the court clerk. I went to see the court clerk. She gave me like 3 sheets of paper. One of them had a number. And he goes, call this number between 48 hours or there will be an arrest warrant put on you. And I went home and I fucking called the guy the next morning. Why wait the 48 hours? I called him the next morning. This bitch didn't call me back for 48 hours. I called him like 4 times, left messages, called his receptionist, and they said he'll get back to you in time. He called me up and he goes, what's going on with your life? I told him. He goes, was this your first arrest? No, I got arrested the month before. This is all done on the phone, dog. I'm in shock. I thought I had to hang up, and he was giving me an address to go report to. He goes, this is what I want you to do. What's today's date? I was like, I don't fucking know, April 3rd or something. He goes, call me next month on the 3rd. And I left that April 25th. And I remember calling him and going, listen, I just got to ask you permission. If not, I got to go back to court. Do you want me to... I'm leaving for Colorado. What do you want me to do? And he goes, nothing. Call me next month and tell me how it is out there.
That's kind of scary.
And that was it. And we did that maybe 3 or 4 times. And he goes, listen.
Your probation's over?
Yeah, don't call no more.
Are you sure you weren't calling? It sounds like you were calling one of your buddies.
No, we just call him and talk to him. I forget what his fucking name was. It was 34 fucking years ago, 35 years ago. What the fuck do I know?
It is kind of crazy when you think of, like, just if you, like, going into a restaurant, and I guess obviously not everyone who's on probation is a terrible person, but you don't know who's in, like, everywhere just walking around. They just have to call a probation officer once a month.
Well, now it's completely different.
Oh, okay.
Now probation is a little bit more monitored. You know, probation is what I call a rope. When I tell you I'm going to give that person a rope,
right?
That's probation. That means that you're going to hang yourself with it or you're going to pull yourself in. Like 7 out of 10 times when they give you probation, not even, no, I'm lying. I say 6 out of 10 times. When you get probation, you get arrested within fucking...
Let me see if I can Google it.
Yeah, it's a tremendous rate. It really is a fucking really weird rate. Really weird rate of what it is, the percentage.
Well, not to say that they should be breaking any laws, but aren't like the rules really strict? Like if some of them you can't even drink.
No, there's different.
Like there's different rules.
I know when I was under the influence of all that shit, there was like if you drank, like the other day I was watching a commercial that said Listerine with no alcohol.
Right.
You know why? Because in the halfway house, people were fucking failing left and right. Some people were lying. They said they were taking Listerine, but some people were getting tested on the way out the door.
Gee, so they were drinking Listerine?
No, they were. You use Listerine in the morning, you fuck.
Well, yeah, the reason I was asking is in Boston, it freaked me out. There was this one homeless dude on the common who would drink Listerine all day. So I thought that's what you meant. They had to have no alcohol Listerine for the convicts. Okay. Yeah, he drank it. If anyone's is in Boston, like halfway up Tremont Street on one of those benches, he's always, at least when I was there, he just lived on that bench, and then you knew when he was done because the bottle would turn from green to yellow because he would pee in the bottle.
That's a beautiful story, man. I'm happy you shared that with me. But at least
I miss Boston.
I never knew you were around people like that. People who had class like that.
I always surround myself with the best, Joey.
But
sometimes you hang out with people for the weird reasons. I knew early on when I got here, and I could look you in the face and tell you honestly that nobody was going to do anything for me but me. Do you understand me? And I could give you 1,000 examples.
And you had friends.
I had thousands of friends who had huge friends. Huge friends. You know, Ahmed was roommates with Vince Vaughn and the other guy when they wrote Swingers. If you watch Swingers, Ahmed is in the scene or two in the movie.
Oh wow, I have to watch it again.
You understand me? I mean, that's everybody gets certain opportunities in this town. It's what you do with that dance. Louis C.K. was writing for a show, a sketch show. He brought me in. I auditioned. Louis asked me if I wanted it, but it wasn't like do paperwork. I had to audition. I think I even auditioned for Scare Tactics. Yes, I did, even though it was given to me already.
So, just so people can understand who aren't in the, I don't even know. I'm assuming maybe Brad Pitt doesn't have to audition.
No.
But what level of people do you think are still auditioning in movies? Or I'm just not even sure when people go in. When do you think the point is when you just get called in?
I think this is how it is now. I think now that you look at a movie and you attach the money guy to the movie, correct?
Right, yeah.
You attach who's going to draw fucking seats to the movie, unless you want nobody to go to your fucking movie. All right, so you got to get one of those people and you got to pay them fucking huge. Whether it's Will Smith or Tom Hanks or fucking the other guy, you got to pay them a couple mil, 20 mil, whatever the fuck it is. And then you got to make offers out to supporting actors. Kevin Bacon, Lawrence Fishburne.
So they get offers. They don't have to audition anymore.
They get offers.
Okay.
They get offers, and then if they read the script and like the script, and I'm just talking speculation here, they meet with the director and maybe a producer, and they tell him the vision of what they want from him. And then maybe he'll give his interpretation, and maybe you'll read in the room one scene where they want, just not because you didn't get it. And then everybody after that has to read. I'm sure that there's 3 or 4 people on the set who you just give roles to because they're friends with the producer. Maybe the role is one line.
Right.
I had those, I'm not going to lie to you. I had those given to me. I told you I bumped into Sam Raimi. The guy who put me in Spider-Man 2, the director, the big-time director.
You bumped into him recently?
I went to, listen to me.
Okay.
Like Monday, that Tuesday, I did the 420 with
Doug Benson.
And Chloe Dykstra was on.
Right.
And on that show, that Tuesday, I told the story of how Chloe and I met. Chloe called into the podcast in the very beginning of this podcast. I don't remember what I asked her. This is way before we had live guests. But Chloe was 14, 15, and she was the little girl on the train with the glasses on.
Right, yeah.
So here we are, 13, 14 fucking years later, on the Doug Benson show, smoking dope. And one of the conversations we had while we were waiting to tape, weren't you there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were there, was about Sam Raimi. How cool Sam Raimi was, blah, 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 blah. How lucky we were to work with Sam Raimi at that time. Well, here I am 2 days later at Amazon. And the guy, one of the guys, Matt, comes over to me that we're pitching with, and he goes, "Hey man, I saw you on Everybody Loves Doug. I don't know, whatever, Doug.
Kidding Doug was high.
Talking about Spider-Man 2. He goes, I never knew you were in Spider-Man 2. And I'm telling him this story like that Tuesday afternoon. He goes, yeah, I watched it for a little while on my computer at work. He's one of the head writers and stuff. So, or whatever he is, a producer or whatever the fuck he is. He's my dog. So, the next day we go to pitch. And who the fuck do you think is sitting in the lobby with 3 other people but Sam Raimi?
Oh, shit.
Now, I haven't seen Sam Raimi in fucking, 12, 13 years since ever Spider-Man 2 got shot. Maybe Summer of 2003. It's fucking 2017. I haven't seen Sam Raimi since we shot the movie, and then we had like a screening.
That was the last time you saw him?
That's the last time I saw
Wow.
him, you know. So here I am in this office. I don't say nothing.
He didn't recognize you?
I didn't want him to. I signed in, and I fucking sat with where I was sitting, which was on the other side of the room. And I wondered about walking up to him and shaking his hand and thanking him, but no, didn't need to. And all of a sudden, they call us in. And I'm talking to Matt, and Matt goes, look, and as I turn around, he's walking up. And he's walking towards the stairs also. And he's a gentleman, so he stops, and he goes like this, and all of a sudden he looks right at me. And I go, thank you for putting me in your movie years ago. And he goes, I was looking at you. You look familiar. I go, yeah, I'm the guy in the train. And he goes, I go, you know, I saw Chloe Dykstra yesterday, and I told him, and he was like, wow, that's weird. This is a weird deja vu, you know. It's great to see you. It's great you're still doing it. You're still pitching, you know, shit like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was great just to see him. He, you know, man, he took a chance by putting me in Spider-Man 2. But that, even like that day, I didn't know nobody. I had an agent those days called Nancy Apt. All right, this bitch did not fuck around. Her office at that time,
right,
looked like it had been hit by a bomb in Beirut. Okay, you know, when 15 years from 97 to 2 years ago, I didn't really have an agent, people. I had like somebody who was posing as an agent. But in 98, I signed with a manager called Jeff. Jeff was a fucking barracuda. Jeff did more for me than anybody in the entertainment business ever in a matter of 4 or 5 years. But I didn't have the talent. I didn't have the credits. I didn't have my chops yet. I would still go to auditions, do a great read, but my hand would be shaking with the sides. You know, I wasn't ready for Jeff. But Jeff tried to get me with agents. And the whole time, he would always go to me, listen, I know you want to sign with this guy, and I know you want to sign with this guy, but I know this lady at this agency. And I would go, I don't want to sign with that fucking lady. I don't want to be with that agency. For you to be known, you have to be with a big agency. But every agent turned me down. So I'll never forget, a week before Christmas, he talked me into meeting with this chick. This is, what's the street that turns into the 101? La Brea or Highland?
I think it's Highland.
Okay, so you're going up, I want you to visualize this.
Okay.
You just passed the mall on the left-hand side. You're going up to the 101. Okay, as you're going up, there's a little island on Highland. Right before you hit that street where the 7-Eleven is and the fucking Subway sandwiches in the corner, that's a little island street. As a matter of fact, across from there, when I first got here, I used to sell porn on the phone.
What?
Did I ever tell you that? Who the fuck did you know what I'm saying? Lee Syatt, you don't know dick. You think you're a private investigator.
Well,
so this is how bad this neighborhood was.
What kind of porn did he sell on the phone?
Pornos.
Like
this
DVDs
was way
or
before the
VHSs?
internet. Yeah, when I was selling cigars, when I first got here, I was selling cigars on the phone.
I would love to hear your porno sales pitch.
I was terrible. But dog, it was maybe $400 a week working. In those days, I used to work maybe 10 to 1. I was pulling down 4 bills a week. I never even looked at the movies.
I was going to say, do you have to read their names?
I never even saw a box. I had 2 options. You could either load the boxes, the porno into the boxes,
okay,
or you could call porno places across the country and sell them porno. I'd rather do that on commission. I would show up at like 9:30. I used to live on. As a matter of fact, this was way before the cigars. This is when Highland was basically fucking filthy. Like that movie theater was Chinese theater.
Well, isn't it Santa Monica and Highland, that Yum Yum Donuts? Well,
yeah, where the transvestites are. No, I don't know if it's Santa Monica. I don't know nothing about Santa Monica. We're talking about Hollywood Boulevard, going up to the 101 Boulevard, Highland. That was, in 98, that was a fucking den of death. And in the corner, when you went like this, before you folded into the 101, like 30 fucking yards before you hit the Hollywood Bowl, right there in that corner, they stopped. It was fucking 20 people on the phone and 20 people stocking boxes, and trucks would be going in and out of there all day, and they either gave you like $8 an hour or you made commission.
Did you have to have, like, what, like, I just imagine you selling gay porn, transvestite?
I had no idea what I was selling. There was a sheet of paper, and they tell you what to read on there and how to sell it.
Things or something.
Yeah, hot sex with chick coming on their ass. It's a hot seller, and you compare it to something. I don't remember. I don't remember nothing, Lee.
I like the cinematography in this one.
This is 98, 97. I don't know nothing. But anyway, to make a long story short, across from there was a building that today is gorgeous. But in 98, when I got here, and I was dreaming of this fucking big agency where they offer you water and shit. I remember pulling in into the underground parking, and I'm like, oh my God. When we walked up the step, there was little fucking condoms and shit.
Oh, at least it had parking.
I'm like, Jesus. Yeah, but no, they rob your car. What good is having parking if you're going to rob my fucking car? And we'd walk up the steps to this elevator. Then you pressed it and you went upstairs. And the whole building, you know the building we were in on Lancashire?
Right.
That's what it was.
But worse.
That's my agency. People fucking taking naked pictures in there. Oh. They had private investigators in there. You know, it was just a fucking greasy building. And here's this fucking agency. And I open up the door with my fucking manager at the time. And he goes, listen to me. It's not the agency, it's the agent. He goes, excuse me. He goes, this lady. He goes, I've been here and I've been there and I got my own management company. And this lady is a fucking pit bull.
Jesus. And yeah, I guess it really doesn't matter.
Jewish lady.
But it's scary.
It didn't matter. Like she called in. She had been at a big agency for like 10 years. She knew everybody in town. And one day she got sick and tired of wearing a dress. She wanted to wear fucking sweatpants, not do her hair, and bring her dog to work. So she went to work at this place, and she took a fucking huge clientele, but this lady never stopped. When I tell you, Lee, she was on my phone every fucking day pushing me, and she specialized in comedy character actors. So her and I clicked right off the bat. We must have booked 15 things together. That's how good and precise she was.
I'm surprised she's not still one of your agents.
She abandoned ship. She went back home for a while, and then she came back, and she thought about it. She thought about going to Aqua Agency, which if she would have gone to Aqua Agency with the knowledge she had today, she would have killed it. Because Aqua is one of those small agencies that if you sign with them, you're going to audition. Like if you sign with Aqua Talent, like I was with them in the commercial department, there wasn't 1 week for 3 years that I didn't go out and audition. Either they got you something that you were right for, or you went in for a fucking Asian. They didn't give a fuck. They got you out. They kept you sharp. They were very smart. They kept you sharp. Sometimes they'd send you out for those fucking demos where you got $305 for the day and you didn't get residuals, but they kept you sharp. And I was very impressed with that.
The whole point is to keep you working.
The whole point was, when I left them, I didn't leave them because I wasn't happy with them. I left them because I was trying to get into voiceovers. So people think that you come out here, just like me, that you come out here and you have to lock in with a big agency. And that's bullshit. Even when I first came out here, I signed with an agency called The Coloring Book. Did I ever tell you that?
Yeah, the two black ladies?
The two black chicks. And the agency was like a kid's agency. Okay? You know how embarrassing that was? Like everybody else's paper. Like in those days, you had to put your resume behind your headshot and staple it.
Okay.
So it would have to be perfect 8x10. So I would go to fucking, by the way, it's closed, whatever, Harry Wong fucking printing, and on Sunset Boulevard went under right next to El Compadre. That's a heartbreak. That place had been there since Jesus left Chicago, dog. But anyway, you have to have it. Most people wanted their paperwork white, but in a good way, she made you put it pink.
Yeah, well, yeah, it stands out.
So it stands out. So she was very smart in that department.
You just didn't like having pink paperwork?
But bro, she fucking closed my deal with Bronx County that time, and she did something else. She got me a couple things that I sat there and went, wow, how did you get me in for this? Like, she was that good, too. She just disappeared one day also. It's crazy the percentages of those small agencies, how they make a run for it and then they crumble. Something happens and everybody runs. At that time, I was with 3 agents at one time. Like, I was working 3 agents at one time.
Is that allowed?
No. But what did I give a fuck? There was no computer then. The computer hadn't been involved then. The computer really didn't get involved. Electronic submissions didn't really start till maybe like 2004. So till 2004, I had a reign here, like 6 years, that I had 3 different agents sending me out for 3 different, and it's really, like I told you, it's really weird what I learned. But back to the situation at hand, cocksucker, before you throw me off again.
I'm sorry.
Adam Sandler's nephew, great kid, I forget what his name is. Great kid, just a fucking, him and his sister are great. I met him when he was really young, when I did The Longest Yard. He called me in years later to do one of his short films. I had a great time. I got invited to the premiere and stuff like that. You know, you think somebody like that by now would be a huge director in this town. No. He's still out there fighting for his fucking life. Adam could make a call. Adam could make a call, but guess what? I don't think Adam would want to make a call, and I don't think his nephew would want him to make that call. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The only reason I got my first job in LA was because I went to Emerson, so that was one, and then B, my dad knew the host of the show, so he called and I got the internship. So it's when I left that first job, it was I really made a point to try to get it. And it hurts me too, but I always try to do it without other people's help. I feel like at a certain point you should ask for help, but yeah, it does bring a certain amount of pride to just do it, just apply or just do anything just from start to finish on your own.
Like I was talking to one of the guys at the store the other day. He was telling me he listened to a podcast, or whatever his name is, and he was saying that Joe had done this and this and this for me. It's so weird how I sat there and I go, you know what? Joe took me on the road. But what nobody knows, in the beginning, when I first met Joe, he used to take Chris McGuire on the road with him. All right? It was when I first met Joe, Joe was just starting to go on the road. I was going on the road on my own as a feature act. I really didn't have anybody taking me on the road. I remember I would work with certain people, but I would never ask them to take me on the road. There were a few people who did take me on the road with them, like Todd Jordan and Rick Kearns, and in my early career that they liked me. And then later on, I had like Jimmy Schubert, when I came out here, took me on the road a few times and helped me out. And who else? Paul Rodriguez in the beginning, you know. But I always knew that I didn't want to be that guy. I knew that I wanted to always be able to do my own thing, not just to sit at home and wait for that beck and call. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of person that I wanted to be. Like, I was still at the Comedy Store every night. I did all those Mexican rooms in South LA, every single one of them, every night of the week. That's what paid for my addiction. But at the same time, not knowing, I was also becoming a better comedian. Because I would go into deep terrain 4 nights a week and then go to the Comedy Store where everything is hunky-dory. You follow me? You know, there's places where people come prepared to laugh, and there's places where it's a bar and you got to go up there and blow your fucking toe off to get their attention.
It's like using the what is it called, the donut when
you swing.
Batting practice, yeah.
It's a little different, you know. It's really weird and then you learn a fine line. You learn a fine line after like 5 or 6 years of doing that. You learn a fine line in between those shows and how different they are and how different you have to walk down the aisle of those shows. You can't do the bar material on stage, and you can't do a lot of the stage material at a bar.
Would it be hard for you to do a bar show now?
No. Bar shows are easier for me. You want me to tell you why?
Yes.
Ready? It's 30 minutes. It's high energy and filth. Mix with a little compassion and just lay it on them. But it's got to be high energy. So you stand out from everybody else and you grab their attention. Because at a bar, the television is going to be on. At a bar, the pool table is going to be fucking. People are going to still play pool.
But that sounds a lot like a comedy store set to me.
No, a comedy store is a controlled savagery set. It's a controlled set. When I go to Lou's Lounge on a Wednesday night because I want to have 3 drinks and snort a couple lines of blow, and all of a sudden I get there and fucking Joe Diaz is on stage talking nonsense, it's a complete different night. I didn't come there to listen to some guy talking in my fucking ear.
Right. No.
I went there to fucking get drunk and do a couple lines and maybe pick up some dirty chick that's there. So it's an hour and a half of that. So you have to convince me that you're funny. I have to actually pay attention to you. So maybe a guy that's not as experienced goes up first. He doesn't really do any damage because it's a different environment than the open mic per se, and even the stage set. Are you with me?
I'm with you. I'm just. Why do you think that? Like, it just seems like that would be funny anyway. Why doesn't that relate to, like, if you went like a comedy club? Why doesn't it work?
Okay, because when I go to a comedy club, you're paying to go in there and you're prepared to laugh. That's the psychology of the game. When you go to an open mic, half the people aren't really drinking. They're frustrated comics just like you doing material. It's when you have a few drinks that you loosen up on stage. And open mics, do not get me wrong, are a lot of fun. I always enjoyed open mics in the smaller cities because it felt like the comics were fighting for something. And I could take you back to 3 or 4 cities that I went to and I personally saw growth every 4 or 5 months because of that certain open mic type pride in those small cities. Cities like Houston, Texas, cities like Austin, cities like Boston. There's still small cities that you could do comedy at that it's not as glamorous, but you get funny fucking fast. A lot faster than you would be in LA. Do you know why? Because you get thrown into the lions a lot faster. And they're different type of lions. So it's okay if you fuck up in the back of your mind. The psychology of it, it's okay if you fuck up in the back of your mind.
Well, it's interesting because you have a different judge every time you go on stage. It's not like the audience is the same. So that's actually something that I haven't even thought about before. You can't even really. It's hard to judge your material because some material works on some audiences and doesn't work on others.
Always.
But it changes every time you do a show. So it's hard. That must be hard to judge how your material is doing. Because you don't really have a constant. You don't really have like a boss being like, "Oh yeah, your work is getting better." You have to have someone come back and be like, "Oh yeah, I saw you 2 weeks ago."
Well, I know how I do once I get off stage. When I'm on stage, I feel what they feel. Uncomfortable. Sometimes they're having a really good time. Energy is energy. And what you give out is what you get back. And you really learn that when you're on a stage and people are in front of you. Whether you're in a play, whether you're in a music. I can't imagine playing in a band. Like I did that thing. You know, what's his name show with you when I sang down there, the goddamn Comedy Jam.
Right.
That was a completely different animal. You know me, dog. I overanalyze everything when I get stoned, just like anybody else. And I thought about that night and where that anxiety came from. That anxiety, fuck. Anybody would have got that. I thought I was fucking like breaking down because I got anxiety. Anybody would have got that that's ever been on stage before. It's the same anxiety you get when you get on stage as a comedian. Now I was singing, which that meant I had, like people behind me playing an instrument, which is another form of fucking, like there's another constant. I had never really had that.
Yeah, you never experienced that.
Especially in front of 200 fucking people, whatever was in there.
And I know you're an actor on a stand-up and you have probably better memorization than most people, but you did stand-up that night too. So you have to remember your stand-up and you have to memorize a song.
I didn't fucking know that you had to do a story about the fucking song.
Oh, but
I had no story about the song. I just went up there and dicked around in front of a bunch of rock people.
Okay? I'm just saying memorizing a song is tough.
Okay, a complete different fucking genre. That's what Jim Florentine is tremendous at. Jim Florentine goes to these rock bars and rocks their fucking world. You understand me? Something that I could do, but I don't do it often. I do more of comedy clubs, sometimes a theater, where you actually pay to fucking come see that specific fucking comedian. At a rock club, it's the same difference, but they're a little rowdy, and plus, there's a constant. They're standing.
Oof.
That makes the comedy a little tougher.
Right.
Especially if you want to take it into murky waters and go past the hour.
Do you think... But I mean, like, bands have different kinds of set, way they play the songs? Because that's weird. Like, to have different kinds of ways you do stand-up is unique.
Well, a band wants to change, or maybe they want to add a cover to their, repertoire. I don't know. I don't do music.
Right.
I know how comedy changes. I know that for me, I can't take, let's say I had a set 45 minutes I was going to put on a fucking special.
Right.
I know that there would be certain places where I couldn't run that set just because of what their thought pattern is, or just by me thinking I know what their thought pattern is. So it's a two-way street. But it generally works. You know when it works? When the energy is behind it. When you believe in your material, that's when your material works anywhere. It could work in hell. It could work in a Christian church. It works anywhere when your belief is 100%. That's what I've learned. When I'm really loose and I'm rocking and rolling, that's it. That's it. I believe in this material. I believe in what I'm fucking saying. The story I'm telling you, this is how it went fucking down. I was fucking there. My goal is to take you there. That is my goal as a comedian. When I bomb, I know I failed at all those fucking aspects. Or one of those aspects. Because there's possibly, it's like when you sell something. If you go tomorrow and go, Joe Diaz, I don't want to fucking do podcasts no more. And my Uncle Louis said he'd get me a job selling what's hot now, pharmaceuticals.
Sure.
Or printers.
Printers. Let's go with printers.
Are printers still hot?
Yeah, sure. Everyone needs a printer.
All right. Let's say you went and sold fucking printers, right? You're going to have your way of selling, but the company's going to have you do steps. They're going to send you to Oklahoma for a week where you train, and the sales professionals there are going to show you have steps. On stage, believe it or not, you have steps. And if you don't fucking believe me, watch 2 or 3 of the greatest. The people who I learned the steps on, number 1, Bill Hicks. He walked you through steps. He planned those steps.
Even if it looked like improv, it was all planned?
It wasn't improv.
Wow.
He was not improvising. He was setting you up. That's brilliance right there. Number 2, Sam Kennison was setting you up. Setting you up to eat your fucking guts out. That's a different type. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. And then you had Velvet Hammers like Richard Jeni.
What does Velvet Hammer mean?
A velvet hammer, exactly what I'm saying. You don't see him coming. And he just sucks you in. with a unique way of storytelling, like Richard Jenny. Those are the people who taught me that they had it planned out. There's sometimes I have a plan and it still goes fucked up. And there's sometimes I don't have a plan and the plan actually hatches right in front of your fucking eyes. How's that one for you, cocksucker?
I don't know if does anyone have a plan? I mean, I know some people do. But even when you look, sometimes I think whenever I hear about these really influential people in history, I just think maybe they probably had shitty days and they didn't know where they were going, and maybe they just came maybe it just happened. I don't know.
No, in some way, they had some sort of plan or a belief or both. Because before the plan can hatch, you have to have some sort of belief.
In what? In yourself?
Yourself or whatever fucking you want to do. If you want to sell fucking cameras door to door, you have to have some type of belief when you knock on that door. Why am I providing you a fucking service? Why do you need to buy this from me? This is why. I'm going to tell you why you need to buy this camera from me. Because of all these reasons. Ba, 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 ba. So you have a plan. And after a while, by you keep doing it, that plan, you'll see the catches of your plan, where you'll hook people, you know what I'm saying, with certain words and stuff.
Like you start seeing what people respond to?
Yeah, and all of a sudden you start taking pauses. Because when you're selling something like that, pauses are number one because it shows that you have control of the conversation.
Okay.
You know, when I sold, I learned a lot. I've talked about this on this show 1,000 times. I give that a lot of credit to why we're doing what we're doing now, because they came apart where I became a business instead of just a regular comedian. There's two different mindsets. But to get that mindset, you have to have a belief. And to have that belief, you got to cover that spread. You got to do the fucking work.
There are some we've talked to, how you weren't ready for Jeff Gatlin. At that point, did you think you were? Did you think you had put in the work?
I had been doing comedy 7 years. At that time, I didn't know dick about dick. I got here when I was doing comedy. Let's face it, honestly, I got here when I was doing comedy 6 years. As a individual comic, I was a mediocre feature act when I moved here. No acting experience except a college film at the University of Colorado. That's it. No acting classes. Didn't even know about that world. I liked movies.
But did you think in your head at that time, were you saying, "Oh, I'm a star. I'm the best comic coming to LA," or you were reasonable with yourself?
Not
realistic?
At all. Not at all. Not at all. When I saw Pablo Francisco do Seinfeld in Spanish, I knew I sucked. When I saw Doug Stanhope destroy the Comedy Store at 8:30 one night, I knew I sucked. When I saw Joe Rogan destroy Ahmed Ahmed's room one night, it was an hour set that, till this night, I'll never forget the reaction of people in the room. That's when Rogan was Rogan. 1998, 99, he was uninhibited. He had worked this set for like a year and a half, 2 years. He hadn't gone on the road with this, and it was pinpoint. And one night he unleashed it. You know, I still remember those early performances, how I was like, wow, I'm far away from this shit. I remember seeing Greg Giraldo and seeing fucking Earthquake one night at the Laugh Factory basically take the wall paint off the fucking wall. And it wasn't a black night, it was a white night. All right? You know, you see these comics and you go, Jesus, what the fuck did they just do?
Well, how many comics do you think are realistic with themselves? Or how many do you think are like, oh, I could do that? I'm that funny.
At that point, I did not think that.
Well, right, I know you didn't,
I could strictly be honest with you. At that point, I was doing comedy maybe 8 years when you round it all up. 2000, 2001, that was 10 years. By that point, I had been in LA 4 years and I had seen some great fucking sets. You know, I saw some great sets. I saw a comic one night, Luke Torres, on a Thursday night, take the original room apart. He did some comics, he did some jokes, he did some impersonations, and then he sang. And I'll never forget this. There was a black dude that I met in Seattle. I can't remember what his name was. He wore a little hat. He was very good to me. He was very nice to me and Josh Wolf one night in Seattle. He was on a TV show. He was the musical director.
Okay.
On a show on ABC, the Stephanie something show. And he wore a hat. He was a black dude. And he was on this show at ABC, and me and Josh Wolf were feature and MC that weekend. We got on that weekend on purpose because we knew the place would be packed. I never believed that working with the guy would make me a star. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
Or cheat my way through or anything like that. It just so happened the guy was crazy. He rented a Jaguar and shit, and he asked us Friday night, what are you guys going to do? And we're like, nothing. We're fucking feature acts. He goes, come with me. Let's go to a strip club. He took us 2 towns over. We went to a strip club. I got like 1 lap dance, and I had a bag of blow. I had to take a cab home. It was fucking horrible. And the next night, he took us out again. Well, guess what? 3 months later, I'm in L.A. I didn't know I was going to move to L.A. And he was at the store every night. It's crazy how you meet people on the road before you fucking move here.
You always have to be nice.
What the fuck is his name? Now it's going to haunt me. The show got canceled. He still did spots, but I remember seeing him one night at the Improv on a Saturday night. He sang, he cracked jokes, and he played the piano. He fucked that room up. So my point is, when I saw those people do those things, I thought I was years away, realistically. I could be honest with you. I thought one night I was in the main room and I saw Paul Rodriguez destroy that room. And Mitzi Shore told me something that night that stuck with me. So I knew. And she goes, you see that? That's 20 years. At that time, I was doing comedy maybe 8 years. I was like, fuck. 20 fucking years. But you know what? I never thought about it. I never said I'm going to stick it out to 20 years. I just didn't think about it that way. I just was happy I was doing it that day. That's the crazy. I was happy I was doing it that fucking day.
If you do anything for 20 years, you have to be, it's like, at least pretty good at it. Like that. I can't even imagine doing something for 20 years.
Neither could I, Lee Syatt. Neither could I. That's why I didn't give it thought. When I was at the 8-year mark, I was like, this is going to end any day now. Because, I got on stage the first time in 91.
Okay.
Of July, or June. One of those two. So by fucking 2000, I'm like, oh, this is going to fucking, something's going to happen. I'm going to get hit in the head with a building or some shit.
Sounds like you're listening to my brain now.
No,
oh my God.
And then I got the 10-year anniversary. And I was like, this is crazy. I hit the 10-year anniversary. I had a girlfriend. We were poor, but we had an apartment. We had 1 car, and it worked. I was doing blow. It worked. And you know what? By like the 11th year, I was doing TV. And trust me, I would walk out of those auditions in shock. Like I signed with Jeff in 98. I started clicking in 2001. Yeah, over those 3 years, there was individual things and bing, bang, boom, an hour on this game show or something like that. But theatrically, I didn't start clicking until 2001, 2002, 2003, and I think Jeff left. He became a producer in 2002. I stayed with Nancy Apt. You follow me? So I lost a manager, but I called her up right away. because I knew that was as good as, like, when I went and met with them, when we walked out of there, I'm like, I'm not signing with her. You're crazy. That's a haunted house. There were pictures on the wall and fucking coffee cups. It looked like Bruce Willis's office in that fucking movie he did with Damon Wayans, where there was paperwork everywhere. That was her office. But she's like, dog, all my people work. All my fucking people work, Joey. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I walked out of there like, fuck you. He's like, you gotta sign what I'm telling you. So when he left, I went right to her. Because I knew one thing. I would get out there.
For auditions, at least.
Auditions, at least.
Holy shit.
Pretty fucking crazy shit. But what I was telling you is that, what I was trying to tell you is that even when I met Joe on a very innocent level. When I met Joe, I didn't know what news radio was. I could tell you honestly, at that time, I didn't watch TV. I was so focused on stand-up. I couldn't tell you what was on TV. If it wasn't on after 1 or 2 in the morning on HBO or one of those channels, I had no idea what TV was. In the daytime, I was usually working or sleeping or coming down off coke, or there was no TV in my life when I got into comedy. So when I met Joe, at that time there was a bunch of people hanging out at the store. Andrew was there every night. I didn't talk to Andrew for maybe 2.5 years, 3 years when I was at the store. I just didn't think I had a right to go up to him and talk to him. If he wanted to talk to me, let him fucking talk to me and I'll talk back to him. That's how I was raised. I wouldn't go up to those type
absolutely.
of people. Gary Shandling was still going to the store. Who's the guy that blows up the balloon? Was still going up to the store. Lenny Clark was going up to the fucking store. There was a bunch of fucking people going up to the store in those days. So both of those brothers were going up to the store. The Wayans were at the store every fucking night. In those days, there was Damon and the brother who was the director of fucking In Living Color. They would come out together every fucking night. And one would do a set and then the other guy would do a set. There was a ton of people that I used to say hello to. I would have mild conversations with them. Hello, goodbye. Are you up next? Yeah. How do you like going up late? Shit like that. They would just talk to me about that type of shit. But for some reason, I never thought, honestly, that me asking them, like, the only thing they could do, that anybody could do, is give me advice. And I had, God rest his soul, I had Rick Dukeman in those days, who I really believed in, and I kind of wanted a career like his.
What was his career like?
He would do a few movies a year. He would do a few weekends on the road. He had a wife, and he had children. And he kept it simple. He was in a few movies. He was in a few Tom Hanks movies. And whenever I would have a problem in those days, I would call him. And he would sort it out for me.
I was going to ask you about that. I think that's hugely important because we were talking about it earlier, how like you can convince yourself of something. Convince yourself that you're not good, or convince yourself something's going to end. And I think, how long did you have him as like a sounding board?
I met him in Seattle in 97, 96, and we stayed in touch mutually through a friend. This was way before social media. I was involved with it. I didn't get involved with a Hotmail till 98, 99, and I forgot all about my fucking Hotmail and the code and shit. I just remember I had a Hotmail like 2001 when I needed a fucking email to. Seriously, I didn't know nothing about a computer or nothing. And then when I got to L.A., I never wanted to ask our mutual friend for Dukeman's number. So what I did was, I had spots at the store. And he would have spots at the store. He would go up there on the weekends. He would do the Laugh Factory, the Improv. Then his wife and him would close it up at the store. He'd smoke a number out there with the guys and stuff like that. And I'd see him, And one day he offered me his number, and he goes, if you need any help when you're here, call me. So I didn't want to ask him to be a regular at the store because I had Stanhope. I had Carlos Mencia vouch for me. I had that kid, the black kid from Seattle vouch for me, the one I just told you with the hat and stuff. I had a few people vouch for me in those days. And I got a call, and I became a regular. I kept Rick Dukerman to the side. Rick went on the road in those days, but very subtly, especially to Canada. So in those days, I could get into Canada. I never asked him, I never even brought it up with him. But what would happen is, for some reason, we would get spots on the same night. So I would have his ear for 10 or 15 fucking minutes. But every time he saw me, I made sure I approached him with something. Like I had advanced, and it was weird. We had a few conversations, and I had a few conversations with his wife. And those conversations still I still remember those conversations about how to act, how to go over the top but not go over the top, just in movies in general, because he had done all those movies. And at first I would go to acting lessons, but if I had a producer session, I would call him. And he'd tell me exactly what to do, and I'd do it exactly to the T. So a lot of the shit I do for auditions today is because, rest in peace, because of Rick Dukerman.
And they work? Do you find when you stray from what he told you, like you fuck up, and then if you try what he said, it works?
Well, he would navigate me on every move. Like when I got the pilot, he told me what to do next. He was an old school hustler. So he would tell me to go to that fucking bookstore and buy the casting director book and get the address to the top 10 casting directors and hand deliver them an envelope with a resume and a handwritten fucking letter. And I did that to the T. And guess what? My auditions went up 30%. Now, did they go up 30% because they read the envelopes? Maybe. It went up 30% because I put 30% more effort in. And that's what he used to always tell me. You have to work it from every fucking angle. Then I figured out, from him telling me that with casting directors, I figured out if you buy that fucking Backstage West on Wednesdays, you get auditions from that. In the beginning, I didn't have a fucking agent, Lee, so all those auditions I was getting were auditions that I was generating. And even though I was blowing them, like I was completely wrong on all of them. Like there went years that I didn't book anything. That's the honest fucking... I don't even think I used to get callbacks back then. That's how bad I was. But by going into all those rooms and getting it out of the way, they weren't big projects. They were all going to be fucking sacks of shit anyway in the long run. I never saw one of those things getting played out, or they probably went to a small festival or something. They weren't going to change my life.
Right.
But all those auditions I went through got me ready for fucking... It was like 3 years of auditioning to get it finally down to, wow, this is how I have to do it. I took acting lessons and I mixed it together. But I would call Rick for different things like that. He was like a mentor to me till about 2004. And then I didn't hear from him for a while. He went back to Canada. And guess what?
What happened?
I booked The Longest Yard.
Oh, shit.
And I didn't call him. When I booked The Longest Yard, like I think I left him a message on his phone. And that was the end of that. I never heard from him again, all right? And guess what?
What?
The Longest Yard gets released on like a Wednesday night here. Like, and I don't know nothing about this shit. They don't tell me that. I don't want people at home to think. There's a premiere. There's usually a cast and crew. Let's pretend there's a cast and crew on Monday night. And it would be over by Century City where we did Doug.
Okay.
Right there, Okay, that's where the cast and crew. There's a movie theater there.
Gotcha.
You see that movie theater right there?
So it's not as big and glamorous.
No.
Okay.
No. That's for cast and crew. You could bring your wife. Let's say you're the camera dude. You could bring Paula.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. So then Tuesday, they take it over to Hollywood Boulevard, and they do the glam bam.
The red carpet, the stars.
Tuesday or Wednesday, right? And then Wednesday, they watch at Oprah's house. Did you know that?
That's how every movie gets released now? Oprah
No.
gets
This is...
Oh, okay.
This is when...
I was going to say, I have no idea.
This is when Spider-Man 2 came out. This The Longest Yard came out. You know, Chris Rock was friends with Oprah. Sam Raimi was friends with Oprah.
Makes more sense.
So I heard, and I didn't... Dog, please. I don't want nobody... No, nobody invites Uncle Joey to those things at all. Uncle Joey hears about this shit years later. And that's how I figured this out. Then Thursday, they have a screening at the studio for regular, if Steven Spielberg wants to come.
Fuck.
Okay? They serve whatever, some food. You go, you mingle. You got to be Jewish to get in there. Like nothing else gets in there. 98.3% of Jews. One guy slips in there because, you know, he once lent money on the vig to the one dude. Something.
That's it. There's one black guy, one Asian guy.
And that night, something must have happened. The movie got released Friday. And that Friday night, I'm in Houston, Texas. I was in Houston for the weekend for a purpose because I did well in Houston. And the Houston football team was doing like a mini camp. I knew this because the comedy club owner's wife worked for Pepsi. So she knew everything that was going on with sports in the area. And they would do some type of thing. So she had them go to the movies with me.
Oh, shit.
She set that up too.
Were they the Oilers then, or were they the Texans?
The Texans.
They were the Texans by that point?
They were the Texans. So she set that up. I didn't know nothing about these viewings and nothing like that. I didn't know how it worked. I would be lying to you if I knew. I knew nothing. I'm in Houston, Texas. So I'm basically in Houston getting fucked up. I barely made it to this movie with the Texans. Then that Friday I had the radio. So that night, the shows were packed. For a person who wasn't a well-known comic, I did really well in Houston then. This is 2005.
Okay.
So,
had they seen the movie by at that point? Do you think
a lot of people went to the 7? Like this late movie was packed, and then Saturday it was dripping from the fucking seams.
Oh my god!
But I'll never forget that Friday night, I'm doing a couple of lines of coke. It's about 1 a.m, Houston time, which would make it 11 o'clock in L.A.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And in these days, they used to close the comedy club. And you could sit at the bar with the owner then and a bunch of guys that would be in, and a couple, you know, they have like 30 people in there, don't get me wrong. Some people were drinking, some people in there drinking and smoking. And there were some people like myself that were fucking filthy animals. And we'd be going to the bathroom and doing bumps and drinking Jägermeister and beers and shit and getting fucked up. Old school Texas. And all of a sudden one night, guess what? My phone rang. It was about 11:15, 11:30 at night. It was Rick Dukeman.
Oh.
And he goes, "What's up?" And it was like an unknown number.
So he blocked it or something?
Yeah, it was blocked. But it was blocked because it was calling from out of the country. And he goes, "How you doing? Congratulations." I went to the movie with my kid. He goes, "Listen, I just want you to know something. Monday when you get in, call me because I want to set something up with you. Tom Hanks wants to meet you." That's one of the last times I talked to him, dog. He set a meeting up with me and Tom Hanks. That was it. And then I talked to him once after that, and then recently I heard he passed away, maybe a few years ago. But he was sort of like the guy in the beginning that talked me through things. He helped me make little moves.
Would you be like, should I do this club? Should I take this deal?
Yes. He became, and once he knew I was serious, he got more into it. It wasn't because I was slipping him. Like I was making calculated moves even then. Like, I was here for maybe a year and I popped that Taco Bell commercial. That Taco Bell commercial was huge. It was everywhere. Did they see me? For a split second, if you had a fucking eagle eye and contact lenses, binoculars, and a NASA telescope, that's the only way you could see me in this commercial. But guess what? Way before the computer, I told everybody at that store. And then people would come up to me and go, I saw you in that, I saw you in that. So it was really crazy, Lee. You'd have to be fucking that fast to see me in this fucking thing. But that was the first thing I booked. I shot the pilot for CBS. And then I popped basketball. So this was, I remember still auditioning for basketball, calling him afterward and going, you're not going to believe what happened. I just auditioned for basketball. And he goes, listen, if you get that movie, that's going to be good for you. Where's Tony Bennett? It's Monday, bitches. That weed was strong tonight.
Yes, it was. The store seemed to be doing okay.
Oh.
Somebody.
Anyway, let me give a fucking couple of shout outs out here to my man Joey Zaza tweets. Thank you for the candles. One shaking the devil's hand and selling his soul. I had to fucking light that one on fire with a chicken blood and shit, you fuck. Anyway, thank you for the candles. My man David Garner. My man Matt Baltazar. My little Black Sabbath fucking Goomba, who I'm going to see in fucking Wise Guys in Utah in a few weeks. Sam Firmino. Michael J. Brannon. Jamie McLaughlin. Zant. My man Zach Gids with the fucking picture of his fucking Aaron Hernandez there. Happy birthday, my man Jay Bitch, a.k.a. Johnny Pittsburgh, a.k.a. Manny Sanguine. You know I love you, Jay. I'll see you in September. And my other main man, D. Ferretti. What, are you kidding me or what? 22 to life, no parole. You understand me, Lee Syatt? What's going on, cocksucker?
That's what I'm facing.
Tomorrow's a weird day for me, and it always is. This year, it didn't bother me. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I need to go see a psychiatrist or nothing. I got no type of little problems like that. How many stars you eat tonight, Lee?
10, I think.
You should have ate 15.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm too coherent
apologize
tonight.
to me. What are you going to do? I don't want you to apologize to me. You know, I still love you either way. I bust your balls, Lee. I bust your balls a lot because there's a lot of nights I actually go there, and way before I went to see the hypnotist, I gotta be honest with you, way before I went to see that hypnotist, I was hypnotizing myself in a way because I wanted to go home at night. Listen, man, there's no fucking fountain of youth. Your body's your body, your heart's your heart. Things happen along the way, you don't know what's going to happen with your heart, or if you smoked the wrong fucking cigarette that one time that they put the extra contamination in, you don't fucking know. Every day is a fucking windy road.
With my luck, I did.
No, you didn't. But anyway, the point being, what the fuck is the point being? See, you make me feel.
There's no fountain of youth. Tomorrow's a hard day. You bust my balls.
Yeah, and some nights I would go home at night, and I ate the stars like you. I did what you did, and sometimes not in my office, but I go in my living room and I turn off the TV, and I put the chair thing under my legs, And I would just close my eyes, and I would take myself back to what I felt like when I was your age. Like, as dumb as this sounds, people, you know, I would just sit there at night, close my eyes, and go, what the fuck did I feel like when I was 28 fucking years old? And it's... Right now, my feet, from how high my blood pressure went up, I could feel my body throbbing under my... Like, that's how I felt at 28. Like, my fingers. Like, I was hypnotizing myself without fucking knowing it.
Were you angry? Why was your blood pressure going up?
Because I think about the person that I was at that age. And I was just a caged animal, looking for trouble without knowing. Like, and I had just come out of jail, you know, but I was still not doing what I was doing before. There was no weapons. There was nothing like that. I was just basically... 91 is when I got on stage the first time. 91 is when the year started, me really wanting to be a good estimator. So I went to seminars and did all that shit on my own. But at the same time, I wanted to do stand-up. So 91, I was 28, I was getting married. No, I'm lying to you. I started comedy. But while I was starting comedy, I gotta be honest with you, I didn't know what direction I was going with my wife and the kid. And 4 months later, we got separated, and that was over. So at your age already, I had been out of prison.
That's crazy.
I had started stand-up, and I had gotten divorced. And I sit there, and just thinking about that makes my fucking heart beat and my fingers throb for a few reasons. There's a few reasons there. It reminds me of what I felt like when I realized I was going to be able to do comedy for real. That was a fucked up feeling to have.
You had it early on in doing comedy?
No. When I fucking got, look, it's just me telling you that right now. My eyeball, I just lost 10 fucking pounds on my soul. Like,
really?
That's it. Listen, man, you have no idea what it is to do something, fall in love with it, have a certain feeling about it, and know this is what you want to do, and you got to figure out a way to do it. And one day you walk in the door and somebody fucking tells you, here you go, you want to do comedy? Here it is. Like, for a month I was in shock. Yeah, I was in shock I was getting separated. Yeah, I was in shock I wasn't seeing my daughter. But I was in shock that the answer I was looking for was laid out in front of me. Like, I was in fucking shock, Lee. Like, I kept thinking, how am I going to do stand-up and make this work? Well, now I lost my job with them. You know, I was off probation. I could leave the state. I had a nice car. I had a little savings. If I was going to do stand-up, this was the time to do it. You know what? We're going to sell the condo anyway. I'll get myself a little apartment in South Boulder.
No part of you thought, let me get an apartment and I'll get a job and maybe this comedy thing isn't for me?
I wanted to give it an old fucking Yankee try, if that's the expression.
It should be.
I wanted to just try it for a while, just to see. I didn't want to go overboard. I wasn't thinking about nothing big, nothing like that. I didn't start thinking about craziness till about 9 months in. About 9 months to 10 months in, I started thinking craziness.
What does that mean? What is craziness?
Craziness means that, you know what? I don't know what these fucking old, battered comics are talking about. Kind of what I look like right now when I'm telling you. Like, I was fucking, at this point, I'm maybe 29, maybe turning 30. I'm about 29 by this point. And I had been the house MC at the Broker for a year. So once a month, I would get a different comic. And they were great comics. Doug Stanhope was one of them. I mentioned this before. I mean, there were too many to remember. Some of them still do comedy. Some people are comedy writers now. Some people have moved on. You know, it's pretty interesting, the people I opened up for. And it was always a two-show, you know, two comics. It was a feature and a headline. And the features were usually from anywhere from Oregon to Seattle to Northern California. They could be from Chicago. It was fucking crazy.
So you met 2 new comics every week?
Every Tuesday. What am I saying? Once a month. Every Tuesday. No. Hold on. Yeah, every Tuesday. Every Tuesday I'm in a different comic for a year and a half.
That's your college course.
But by about the 7th or 8th month, I had already made a decision. I was like, you know what? These guys, they don't know what they're doing. Oh, yeah. I had already made a decision. Like, I started in July of 91, and by December of 92, I had a solution to all my problems.
Hit me with it.
You want me to drop it on you?
I would love it.
All right, my solution was to move to New York City.
That's a good start.
And do comedy in Manhattan. And that Jay Leno would walk into the club one night, and I would be on stage doing stand-up, and he would talk me off the stage and tell me to be on the Tonight Show a week later.
How many times a day did you fantasize about this happening?
200 times a day. And it could have been him or Letterman or what's the guy who just died, the little Jewish guy, Mickey Rickles? What's his name?
R.I.P. Mickey Rickles. I think it's Don Rickles.
Don Rickles. Oh my God, I call them Mickey.
That earthquake weed is good.
No, I thought, oh yeah, the earthquake weed, that's hallucinogenic type shit there. That's the real deal. All you guys are going down to the jungle to fucking see Jesus. You're wasting plane fare. Come over here and smoke this death with Uncle Joey.
Don't get beat up on United.
Oh my God, no. No, I did not know. I had no fucking idea, Lee. Look at the shape of you.
Look at the shape of me. Oh, man.
Another thing that I was thinking about tomorrow, I called my friend today. I have like 3 friends tomorrow. That's their birthday. You know anybody tomorrow? April 25th is their birthday.
I can check Facebook, but I don't think so.
No, please. I don't need for you to check. If you don't know them off the top of your fucking head, you don't know.
I don't know anyone. I know my mom's birthday, my dad's birthday, your birthday.
I know 3 people that are having birthdays.
So,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Why is tomorrow a hard day for you? About thinking about what it was like when you were 28.
Oh no! I was telling you that there's sometimes I just go home and think of what I'm like at your age, and
right.
I don't think I was any hungrier than you were. I think I wasn't as confused as you were. I wasn't starting a new business every week and getting business cards. You should. How many business cards have you given away?
Just, no, none.
What?
0. I had them on the sheet, and it was just me and him. So I gave away 1 card.
You gave
I
away
feel
one?
I feel it's interesting. My 10-year high school reunions right after Thanksgiving, and I feel more unsure and confused now than I did when I was 18 going to college.
What are you afraid of? You're going to go back and your friends are doctors? And
No, I can't. I'm not going back, and I just can't.
You got to go back.
I'm not going back for Thanksgiving.
Listen.
That's the worst time to fly.
I'll tell you what I'll do. Let's get you a nice suit. Let's get you like a fucking gold chain. with a yarmulke star, like one of those Jewish stars.
Can I get the yarmulke that you've always talked about with the blood diamond?
No yarmulkes. You're gonna go up there looking good, nice and bald and cute. You're gonna give yourself a little fucking goal. You're gonna lose 40 pounds. You're gonna go see the Mexican doctor. Have him shoot you with a couple fucking Mexican illegal drugs. You walk in there looking like fucking Main Street Charlie, fucking yoked to the gills. And you go to your high school reunion in 10 years and you lie to people. What do you give a fuck? They're gonna be lying to you. They all just got out of jail. They all just fucking.
There's nothing to lie about. Most of them stayed in Massachusetts. It's fine. They're doing great. Well, they're rich and.
How many of those people have you kept in touch with since?
One.
And how many people in your graduating class there?
300 or 400, I think.
Yeah, you were a regular fucking jump bundle of joy, weren't you?
Yeah, no, I don't know. People don't like me. Who knows?
No, people love you. You're a nice guy. I'm busting you.
No, but if I went, I'm sure I'd have fun. But it's just a weird feeling. I felt so sure at 18, and at 28 now it's not that I'm unsure. It's just.
What are you unsure about, Lee Syatt?
It's not even unsure. Isn't the right word for it. There's so many opportunities right now. That's when I'm not good at the Cheesecake Factory because there's 8,000 pages and everything looks good and I can't make a decision.
So what do you want to do?
I love podcasts. It's definitely gonna be in podcasts. It's just and it's not even like what I want to do. It's like it's as you talked about. Hopefully at some point someone's starting something. So if it's for TV shows, that could be. It's just there's so many different ways podcasts could be used. It's a little overwhelming sometimes.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm 54-year-old. I'm still fucking confused too.
Yeah, so
trust me,
doesn't make me feel any better.
It never goes away because if you have any kind of heartbeat, as fast as technology's moving, and all the things that are happening as fast, you have to. If you're a CEO of any company, you have to always look at these things. How fast this is moving. If there's a writer's strike. Where
right.
You were running.
You saw 96% today.
96%. Where you would be putting your ads. These are all things that right now with all the technology, you don't know what's going to happen.
And that's the scariest part because even with YouTube, people are getting really mad at YouTube right now because they've changed their whole ad structure, and there's been so many podcast networks that have come and gone in LA since we've started, and you have to think that when they're in their first meetings and they're setting up and they have the talent, they all were just as or more motivated and excited as I am. So, but it's when you see so many people failing, it's daunting to get started.
I'll tell you what, man. It was very appealing starting a network.
Right.
There was a while there when we spoke about it, and it was very appealing. But I knew one thing. I knew that I'm not the most affluent person in the world. I know that I'm not the most charming person in the world. I know there's a certain taste. And you know what? If I'm going to focus on something, let me focus on what's in front of me, which is the podcast. I always wanted to be consistent, and I always didn't have to worry about anything. The last thing I need to do is show up here on Monday and Wednesday, and the camera's broken, and there's spaghetti on the fucking table, and there's a rat in the fucking garbage, and I see a condom in there. I don't want to share a studio with anybody.
Right, no.
I never wanted to do any of that thing. That was part of the freedom that I wanted. You know what? There's times I sit here that maybe I should belong to a podcast network, and why don't I, and whatever. You know what, man? I got thrown out of the Boy Scouts, and I learned my fucking lesson. I could lie to you and tell you I was in a street gang. I was never in a fucking street gang. When I knew kids who hung out on 148th Street, that's it. I did nothing organized like that except play basketball and some football. I didn't know anything ever before like that, and I don't want to know it.
Right.
I didn't want to be a part of something like that. I'd rather enjoy what we're doing right now.
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing. I'm not itching to get out. It's just you and I talk about it a lot. That's what we talk about after the thing, and just because maybe what you're saying is I should be looking at the people like the All Things Comedy and the podcast ones and the people who have succeeded, and instead of focusing on the ones who failed.
Well, the ones that succeeded did it. I'll tell you why. Primarily because somewhere on there they had an experience. There's somebody who, a lot of those guys tried to switch from radio to podcasting.
Right.
And I'll tell you, it's two different forms. And it's two different formats. And people are ready for a change. Do you understand where I'm trying to go with this?
Right. And
so a lot of people were left like dinosaurs. There's limited amount of radio in these markets where I go to. It's not like where I could go into a town and do radio for 3 days.
How many, like out of 10, do you do radio now?
Out of 10 cities?
Yeah, usually. I
usually do radio in every city.
Okay.
But it's one morning. It's 8:30 a.m. and 9:45, and we're done for the day. It used to be 8:30, 9:45, 11:50, 2:30, and maybe a 3:40 call-in.
Wow, that's a lot.
Those days are done anymore. Unless you're Rosie O'Donnell or somebody like that. You know, they put out a press release and they call back for them. You know, but to answer your question, Lee, let me tell you something. I don't think there comes an age when you're not confused and unsure even a little bit, even as you're depositing the check in the fucking bank.
That's all I'm working towards. I don't know. In my head, all I want.
Do you want a structured life? I mean, what is it that you look
No. Because I don't necessarily need a structured life. I would like to be able to have. Well, my goals used to be all money related, so that's where my mind first went right now. But in reality, the past few years, I've lived 3 miles from the studio. I do a few podcasts a week, but I have a lot more freedom with my day than I had when I was at an office.
Listen to me. Forget all that nonsense.
Okay.
The beauty about this podcast and how I knew this podcast was going to work was how anything works in this life. You have to love it for free.
Right, yeah.
If you can't get up and do something for free, do not fucking do it. I'm talking about if I call you up. You know what? Remember when those movies I did with the dog?
Mm-hmm.
All those movies, those companies that did those movies were a little bagaloosh, if you know what I mean. And the second movie I did with them, there were certain people who were not getting paid. As a matter of fact, the guys who were, picking up cameras and moving them and polishing and setting them up and setting the cameras and putting the color in the room and all that, there was a lot of those dudes that were not getting paid. They were doing this for 5 weeks for free just to get experience.
Yeah, you have
Somebody
to do that.
Put them together to do this. In many ways I agree with the concept, but in many ways I didn't. You want to not pay him, I could see not paying for 3 weeks, but pay him anything after fucking 6 hours. You know what I'm saying? They were working these motherfucking 12 hours.
You're willing to do that when you first come out. When you come out here, I'm sure you're a little bit jaded, and now it's.
No, I'm not jaded. I just understand the concept now. I've worked on big film. Remember, Lee, let's get something straight. Besides Grudge Match, the last big film I worked on was somewhere after The Longest Yard. I'm talking about where people open up the door for you. I'm talking about where you go to wardrobe 3 weeks before. I'm talking about where they take you shopping. If I analyze that, I met them at wardrobe and they took me to like fucking in Midtown Manhattan to Men's Big and Small. The shirt was 2 G's. The shirt alone was 2 fucking G's. Did I try to clip it?
$2,000 shirt?
Just for the shirt. The leather jacket had to be, Jesus, God knows how much. It was that soft leather that looked like paper thin and weighed nothing. That jacket was, I forget what the fuck that was. They took me shopping. Next thing you know, whatever happens, happens. And I'm doing these $100 a day movies where you bring your own fucking clothes. So I've done all the movies at every level. And if you look at my IMDb, there's some big movies, but there's also a lot of small movies. You know, for a while there, I wanted to get good at what I was doing, so I'd work with you. You know what I'm saying? Work with you a little bit. Who gives a fuck if you fuck up on scare tactics? You can't fuck up. It's improvised.
I mean, it's fun. It's funny you're talking about this. I actually wrote this down. So when did you stop taking those roles? Like the roles that the $100 a day movies, the TV shows. Maybe you.
After I did 25 of them, and I came to a conclusion. You know the girl that did the movie with Clint Eastwood as a boxer girl?
Yes.
Okay, you know, that movie, I don't think if it's that movie. I think it's the movie that Clint Eastwood saw her in to put her in that movie, was a $100 a day movie. When they book you in those movies, they always sell you the concept that they have an out and you're gonna be seen. And there was a lot of those films I did that on paper looked great until I got to the set. And I was like, oh, shit. There's a few movies I did that I think are great, but nobody ever see them.
Why?
The company dropped the ball. You'll see it 10 years from now, late night at 3 in the morning, on some fucked up channel as part of their fucking thing. There's something I did in 2000 that still runs on, there used to be a gay channel. Logo. It ran on there once or twice a fucking month. I'm not going to tell you the name of it. I don't want people to know and shit. Because the director of it and the producer and the writer were gay. So they wrote this script. So they sold it into different... So you never know what you're doing, but in a lot of things, the reason, to answer your question, the reason why I stopped doing $100 a day movies because they were getting me nowhere. That's the honest to God bottom line. But I don't want somebody else to get that mindset. I also did 20 of them. Can I go on my IMDb with you right now and count them out for you? I guarantee it's a lot closer to 20 than not. The six dog movies I did were all $100 a day movies. With Dean Cain, those are all $100 a day movies.
Wow. Okay,
I can name... If I look at my IMDb, there was a time, Redemption, all those movies were $100 a day. You bring your own wardrobe. You better bring water just in case. You know, there's no guy with wardrobe bringing your wardrobe to your room. When you do a movie for CBS, when you get there, the wardrobe's in your room and shit. You know, you go to makeup, they tune you up. No. In these fucking movies, it's a chick standing there, and she'll come next to you and touch you up a little bit, and that's it, motherfucker. It's two different worlds.
What's the comedy equivalent to a $100 a day movie? Like a B Club or featuring, or like when did you stop doing that?
When I elevated myself. Remember, I elevated myself to headline in 2005 officially. Before that, I co-headlined. I featured if I had to make ends meet. But I was starting to headline. Now, when I navigated my way into headliner, was I a headliner? No. I navigated my way into a headliner how I planned I would, by doing movies and TV. The Longest Yard was my launch pad. After that, I booked myself as a headliner. Period. All those clubs I had featured for, I called them with a different fucking attitude now.
Even though they hadn't seen you do an hour, you were just like, I did this movie.
I've been at your club 4 times already. I've blown your headliner out. Let's lift the rock. Joey, what are you talking about? Yeah, come on. They would hit me with a number that was so lowly, with no plane ticket, and I would bump them a little bit and get a plane ticket out of them. And then you know what? Let's pretend 300 people just because of the longest yard. That's more than a lot of people, believe it or not.
Yeah, you have 52 weeks, and then are those sort of clubs, like, are there B? I'm sure there are.
There was a couple
B.
clubs I did really well one time. Dallas Improv, Houston Laugh Stop. It was somewhere else that even in 2005, I was starting to build a little bit of an audience.
New Jersey, New York,
No, but then you drift away. You get away from that. I started doing movies. I got a girlfriend. The one club closed down. The other club lost its management. The management I was used to. Things happen. Things evolve. So now you evolve from one club to another. It's usually not because of my loyalty. If you take care of me back then, I'm still with you. I was with people towards the end, so I'm one of those guys. But today, clubs open up, a new one opens. Some of the old timers moved on,
So you can't really be as loyal to the clubs anymore.
No, I'm still loyal,
Well, yeah.
I love certain clubs. There's certain clubs that even today, I wouldn't dream of going anywhere else, even what the agents tell me. I can name like 6 of them off the bat that I wouldn't leave. I love them. I don't want to do a theater. I'd rather just stay there. But just how I hypnotize myself to think about being 28, just to see where your head is at. No disrespect to you, just to see, Jesus Christ, what was I thinking at 28? Like, I was already married. I wasn't really thinking about banging her anymore. We already had the kid. It was brutal. And I'm working 40 hours a week. And once I got on stage, I really wanted to do it. But before I was thinking about that, today's one of my, I told you today I have 3 friends that are birthdays tomorrow. So one of them I sent a card to. The other one, me and her are not cum sa that much anymore. So I'll wait till I feel tomorrow and see if I'll just send her a message on Facebook. And then the one is a close friend of mine that I love dearly. So I made a point to call her today, just to get it out of the way before tomorrow. And she called back around dinner time, and I went outside, and I went, what's up? And we just spoke for a few minutes, and I was like, happy birthday, I just want to get you today, because I know you're probably, she goes, you were right. I'm going to do this thing, and the reception's bad down there, me and my husband. So at one point, she's like, Jesus Christ, we're getting old, Joey, She calls me Coco still, and I was like, I know, She goes, I went to my cousin's wedding, blah, blah, blah. My dad 10 years ago was doing something, and now he can't do it no more because of his knee. We're just talking generalities. And she goes, I gotta tell you something. You always call me on my birthday. And I was like, I remember the date, it's easy. And she goes, why? Because you love me? I go, that, but it's the day I left New Jersey the first time. And she just was like, oh my God, I still remember that night. Like, yeah, we were friends. We were tight friends, even back then. She hung out at that bar that I used to hang out at, and I used to borrow money from the fucking loan shark there.
So you had a going away party that night?
No, I had never told anybody I was going away.
So why does she remember that night?
Because I told her like 2 nights before.
So you guys were really close, okay.
We were close, but as that time came, we were starting to get closer. We hung out in the same clique, and we liked Chinese food, and we would go to White Castle at night, and we giggled. And she had a boyfriend, and I had whatever I had going on. But I kind of took an interest in her, and we became friends. We kept it at that. So then 2 nights before I left, it was like a Tuesday, I saw her out. And I pulled her outside, and I go, listen, do me a favor. Don't say nothing to nobody. And she was cool. Like, I'm going to Colorado with Jimmy Burkle.
You weren't worried about her ratting you out or people finding you?
No. I trusted her that much, man. I trust her that much. At that time, I knew that even if she said something, nobody was going to take a helicopter to Colorado to come get me. Nobody was taking a plane to Colorado. When you said the word Colorado to those people in those days, you might as well tell them fucking Jupiter. It's the same distance in their mind. She kept it quiet for a long time. And she was concerned at first. I knew I was leaving for about 3 months. Colorado, I knew for about a month. And today, when I hung up with her, I was thinking about how I felt. Like, Jesus, what did I feel like 2 nights before that? I was holding on by Diaz and Lee. They were coming at me from all directions. I had about 6 fucking people looking for me. And they were coming at me from all directions. And I was chucking and jiving. At the same time that I was chucking and jiving, I'm robbing with 3 hands. And I'm just trying to put money away to go on this mission to Colorado. And we're already set to go, and I can't boogie. But I wasn't worried about that, Lee. I was really worried about what I was going to do. Like, can you imagine being 19? I know there's people who have done this before. But I really thought about what the fuck I had done at that age.
It's weird. Whenever I listen to these stories, I don't picture you as a 19-year-old kid. Because when you were saying earlier that by my age you were married, and I was like, Jesus Christ, he went to Colorado that early. You're just such a good storyteller. I just imagine it as you now. To think of it as a 19-year-old kid doing that stuff is
19.
Compared to me at 19 in college is very different.
I was sitting there going, what the fuck am I going to do with my goddamn life? My buddy had just lost money in the Super Bowl. I was working for fucking peanuts. Who the fuck was I kidding? I was at that bar 3 nights a week, acting like Tony fucking Bananas, snorting a half gram of coke. That's 40 a pop. That's 120 when you're 19 a week. That's 480. That's not even including the fucking alcohol. That's not including the meals out with your fucking retarded friends, which I enjoyed every single one of those times. But I was saying that's where my head was at 19. Was I going to get a job? Listen, I was one of those dudes that wanted a job, but I didn't want a job. I wanted a job that I didn't have to show up to. And I was going to hold out till somebody gave it to me in my perverted, fucking disgusting mind.
That sounds like the perfect job.
And eventually I had to go to work. And I did go to work for a while. I really did work for a while. But I needed cash to go to Colorado. Like I needed a cushion because I could shovel snow or get a job as a garbage man in those days because all my friends had ins at those places. But it was the end of April. How much snow was there going to be?
Probably not much.
Not much. So I was trying to get a job.
November.
So once I thought about the fucking no snow, I was like, I'm going to need some money for a few fucking weeks. So I wanted to rob as much as I could. And I wasn't robbing. I was trying to get at one drug dealer. That's all I fucking wanted. And he left. And I was bummed. And then he broke down and he came back.
Nope. No part of you thought of getting just a regular job or...
I thought about it 1,000 times. But deep down inside, I was too far behind on the money I owed. I was too far behind on where I stood with people who cared for me and people who loved me. I was just too far fucking behind, man. And guess what? I wasn't going nowhere. I was trying to go into vocational school. First, I was going to be a plumber. Then I switched it to masonry. Then I quit after 5 weeks because the guy fired me from the masonry job. So for you to be in the masonry program, you had to have a job in the masonry job. Then I got a job in a brick place. So I got put back into the masonry job. Then I got fired from the brick place because they wanted me to haul bricks in 20 below fucking weather with, a hooded sweatshirt with no heater in the warehouse. So I was looking for a job, but not really. I wanted a job that I could go there and have pork chops and somebody to give me a line of blow. That's Jesus Christ. That's how retarded I was at 19, if you really want to know. So that's what I thought. I thought I was going to get a job bartending where I could be the life of the party and pour drinks and make $200-300 a night and do that 3-4 nights a day and snort coke and wear like a vest and try to be fucking cool with the ladies, but that never panned out for your Uncle Joey.
That plan really does.
Nah, every job I got, they made me work like on off days. Like, I had a good job as a bartender, but it wasn't the bartending I necessarily wanted to do. I wanted to do small pub type bartending where you know everybody and shit like that, but it didn't really matter, Lee. You know, I think about when I talk to people who have given up things in their hometown to come out here or just to leave, and I've remembered how hard it was for me, because the hardest thing I was going to, like, I knew I was going to miss my friends, and I knew I was going to miss this environment. It had been all I ever known. New Jersey and New York City, that whole area is all I ever knew, you know?
And that's all I ever knew, but I was ready to get out. I was so excited to leave.
Part of me wanted to get out, and part of me fucking didn't. But I remember the fear I went through in that car, driving from New Jersey to Colorado. The fucking fear of wanting to get there because I wanted to see what this was all about. It was fucking brutal. Like, that's how, you know, and I even wrote about it today. When I went over to the court, that's what I wrote about today. That's what that had me all fucked up today. Was
the fear of the unknown? Just
the chance I took. But once I took that one chance, it was all over after that. Because I knew I could do it now. I lived on my own for fucking 10 months in Colorado. I paid rent every month. I bought my own groceries. I used to buy a head of lettuce and Oscar Mayer salami and chop it up with Italian dressing. What? That shit's good to go, Papa.
We were talking about sloppy joes in the green room. I haven't had a sloppy joe in probably 10 years.
That's because you're fucking... But tell him what you did have. Tell him what your Uncle Joey hooked you up with in Santa Barbara.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So we went to Toma. It's an Italian place right on the beach, right near the pier. And not the pier, like the wherever the boats go. The marina. And it was great. We called up because we thought you had to get a reservation. And the guy saved 2 spots at the bar for us. He had two places already set for my dad and I when we got there. And I didn't even look at the menu. I just got the lasagna. And my dad got the capellini, I think. I have a picture of it. It's the biggest shrimp I think I've ever seen. And the lasagna, I ate every single bite of it. And
you went back to your room and you fell asleep like the savage that you are. But you probably ate some chips when you went home. You had a good time with the chips this week.
Yeah, candy or something.
You what? You're fucking...
Well, you're eating 2,000 milligrams.
So, yeah, if you're fucking thinking about leaving where you live, man, it's fucking hard.
Just do it,
But sometimes you got to do it. Well, you know what? You can always come back and look like the other 10 dudes who failed. Who gives a fuck? But at least you fucking went. At least you went for it. That's what they do. They put you up against the wall like this guy left too, and he thought this guy had the answer too. But he came back, and look at this guy. He had all the answers. He was making millions. Sure he was. Why the fuck is he back here on the bar working off the tab? You know, that's what I dreaded. And when I went back in '84, I didn't go back like that. I went back because I missed that fucking lifestyle. I didn't go back because I failed. I always knew I was going back to Colorado. I just wanted to know when. I wanted to see what I could get out of my stepdad. But at the end, it was all a waste of time.
Right.
I should have stayed in Colorado. I could have probably been a different person today.
You think so?
You never know.
What was going on here?
Nah, I'm lying to you because one of the reasons why I went back to North Bergen was because They had put something together I had done in Aspen, a burglary, and I knew that any day they were going to nail me. And if they nailed me for that burglary, they were going to nail me for 10 other fucking burglaries. Maybe, I don't know, give or take. Because they were drug dealers, so I don't know if they reported it. But I was such a klepto in those days. God knows what I took. God knows what I fucking took.
Fuck. It's crazy. It's all crazy, and then it's crazy how your life's changed.
Well, listen, I could take these things and sweep them under a fucking carpet. Or I could tell you them and you could feel better. It ain't all fucking roses. It ain't all fucking, you gotta work for everything. I did triple runs. I moved to Seattle. I sweated out 2 years up there. You know, this was real. This was fucking real.
And I don't mind putting in the work. It's just, I in my head, by the time I'm 54, I want to have some time where it's a little bit more relaxed.
Well,
like
let's worry about that when you get to 54.
Right, yeah, I'm not that worried about
right now. Worry about when you're 28. That's the other thing. Whenever you think ahead of time, all that thinking I did was a waste of time because I never thought about the podcast. I never even saw it coming, and here we are 5 years later. So don't think about nothing because you never know what life's got down the corner. As long as you stay positive and you're willing to try new fucking things, you never know, Lee. You never fucking know. You understand me? Yeah. Now, talking about working hard, you need to fucking rest. Night after night, two people lay in the same bed like two mooks. But when it comes time to buy a new mattress, only one gets their way. Until now, introducing Helix Sleep, where you can buy mattress online customized for both of you for hundreds of dollars instead of thousands. Go to helixsleep.com, answer a few simple questions based on 4 key preferences, and the result will be a custom sleep profile used to build you the most comfortable mattress you'll ever sleep on. Your mattress will arrive at your door in about a week, and shipping is 100% free. And for couples, Helix customizes each side of the mattress. Can you believe that? Personalized to suit each of your bodies the way you both sleep. Helix customers report a 30% improvement in overall sleep quality. Overall. And that includes nappy nunu. You have 100 nights to try it out, and if you don't love it, they'll pick it up for you free and give you 100% refund, no questions asked. 100 nights. That's 3 months. If you don't love it, 100% refund, no questions asked. That's why everyone from GQ magazine to Forbes are all talking about Helix Sleep. Do me a favor, just to help you out, just to make you more relaxed, just to make you, because if you sleep better, you'll be more proficient out there in the field. Go to helixsleep.com/Joey. helixsleep.com/Joey and get $50 off your order. That's helixsleep.com/Joey. Again, helixsleep.com/Joey and get $50 off your order. Lee, what are you giggling about, Lee?
I'm not trying to. I'm just giggling. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, you're enjoying it. All right, that's what I need for you to have enjoyment over here. While I'm trying to read and struggle here, I'm looking at Lee, and Lee's looking sharp tonight. He's got a blue sweater on. His beard is tight. He's got a few spots on his head, but when doesn't he have some fucking ailment? It's either a spot in his head or the fucked up eyebrow or the fucking ingrown toenail on the eyeball. It's always something with this poor guy. Anyway, but what Lee is sporting with all new fairness is a beautiful MVMT watch. Pronounced movement. It's a beautiful watch. I had one too. Mine slipped. I'm waiting for a code to get a new one, but between you and I, if they don't send me a code, I'm going to buy one anyway because it was that much of a, it was that nice of a watch. I usually wore it under my sweater when I'm on stage. It's stylish, it fits, it looks really good, and you know what? The most important thing, it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. That's the most important thing. This company was started by two broke college kids that wanted to wear stylish watches but couldn't afford them, so they started their own watch company. They started this with social media, videos, they launched into podcasts, YouTube, radio, you name it. These savages did it. Movement watches, they start at $95. At a department store, you're looking at $400 to $500 for the same watch. Movement figured out that by selling online, they were able to cut out the middleman and the retail market, providing the best possible price for you. Listen to this. They got classic design, quality construction, and style minimalism. They've sold over 1 million watches worldwide in 160 countries. Listen to what we're going to do for you. You know I love you to death. I want you to look good for the 4th of July. You don't have a jacket on. You want to look sharp. You don't want to look like a mook. People ask you what time it is. You can talk to them. You know how it is. You want to mingle, you have to have a nice watch. What I'm going to do for you is get 15% off today with free shipping and free returns. Something, man, you don't like the black watch, you want it in gray? There you go. But do me a favor. Go to mvmtwatches.com/church. Again, going to mvmtwatches.com/church. You're going to love this watch, and you're going to save $400 to $500. Look at Lee's watch. This watch has a really clean design, and I'll tell you what, every time I see Lee out, people always say how nice the watch is. Again, go to mvmtwatches.com/church. Join the movement, you savages. I want to thank Helix. I want to thank MVMT. I want to thank my brother Lee Syatt. And I want to thank Anna, and I want to thank you savages for always being there for us. Tonight we decided just to go old school, chit-chat, see what's on each other's mind, be very sais quoi, if I like to say. Don't forget, Thursday night, the Tembler Brewing. And then Saturday, I think the fucking Ice House already sold out. So
fuck yeah.
That's how fast we're doing that. Beside that, I'll see you savages Wednesday night. Get ready to rock. That's all I'm telling you. Get ready to rock. Wednesday night, 8 o'clock. Have a great night. Thank you for listening to the Church of What's Happening Now. Thank you for the love. You know we love you too.